I didn't realize that Tuesdays with Tamo was going to be on election night, but hey, that doesn't matter. We still got to do what we got to do, right? You know, is the election ruining your love life? And when I was thinking about that, I really thought about the stress and anxiety sometimes that elections can bring to people. Thinking about who's going to be in office and what's going to happen and who's going to win. And but the thing is, when it comes to ourselves and loving our partners and loving our lives, the election has nothing to do with that. So improving those things could be something that could take you out of the election, right? That makes sense because no matter what goes on in politics, no matter what goes on out here in the world, we still got to live every day. And I would like to think we want to be happy, right? So, really, that has nothing to do with improving who you are. No matter what happens, no matter what laws are passed, no matter what decisions are made, one way or another, we still have to find a way to figure out our self worth, our love for ourselves, our love for our partner, right? And so then that got me thinking about love relationships specifically. Now, I talk about a financial love covenant, right? Because I definitely believe that we need to have standards regarding our relationships and our love and what's going on. But then I got to thinking a little bit deeper, right? We don't just need covenants, or if you want to say contract, I say covenant because a covenant is a binding agreement, right? It's a covenant. I feel like that's spiritual. That's deeper than a contract. Like covenants are not supposed to be broken, really, right? So that's why I use the term covenant. But anyway, so that got me really thinking about relationships and do we know the terms and conditions for our relationships? Like, each person should have standards. You can't have expectations because you can't expect someone else to be a certain way. You can have an expectation on yourself and then have a standard for the person that you want in your life. So, do you go into relationships with terms and conditions? Like, I think that we should have those terms and conditions. And I'm sure there are people that are going to disagree with me because relationships really are contractual. They definitely are. That covenant is a must. And I just feel like at the end of the day, if we don't have these things in order, something's going to happen in our relationship that we don't like. I mean, the reality really is that over 75% of marriages end up in divorce, right? And then out of that, it's like what, 40% are because of financial issues. So you tell me, I feel like if the majority of us, which most of the people I know, they don't go into relationships with terms and conditions and thinking about writing covenants to each other and figuring out what their standards are. Nobody wants to do that. But my thing is, why not? Because the statistics and just the people I think that a lot of us know in our life, I don't see anything changing with relationships. If anything, it's getting worse regarding how relationships are working, and really that boils down to communication. We have so much going on in our lives, right? Where we are wanting to work things out, figure things out for ourselves, and then work through relationships with our partners. Well, what's wrong with writing that down? What's wrong with really knowing what you want from your partner? How do we really expect it to work if we're not communicating with each other? Like, if we just really think about it, it's absolutely crazy. Like, if you want to say you fall in love, that's not a term that I personally like because I don't want to fall into anything. So, but that's what happens, right? We actually fall in love because basically the representative that we come into, the representative that we start at because we want the people that we start relationships to see us in a certain way, to see us in a certain light, but at some point you kind of, you settle into, oh, this is who I really am. They get to know you, which is great. That's what we're supposed to do, but then you kind of fall in. I don't want to fall in. I think that we should be able to stay up here and have a standard. But anyway, so I digress. Whole point is, we jump in, we fall in love, we don't really understand the other person's wants or needs because we don't talk about it. We don't talk about our financial needs. We don't talk really about our emotional needs. You get to know the person, of course, most of the time organically over time, right? You get to know their family. You get to know how they are as a person, the things that cause them to be excited and happy, upset, all of those things. But really, how does that look for your partnership? How do we take these individual things and idiosyncrasies and all of these great things that we have, things that we need to work on, and how do we figure it out together? How do I tell you, you know, my particular way that I like, for that I want you to treat me, or I like to be touched a lot. I like to be held a lot, or another person saying, well, you know what? I like for you to check on me multiple times a day. But usually people don't have these discussions. They don't even think about it because somehow we're supposed to know what our partners are thinking. We're supposed to somehow know, oh, you want this way and you like this way. You like the toilet paper flipped up and not down and the toothpaste this way, or like that's not even realistic. So we keep putting these expectations on our partners that is unrealistic. So why won't we have an election, right? For the best candidate? Like we for politics, when we're looking for, people to put in office, we have the rundown on their agenda and the things that they're going to do and how they operate, how they partner, how they're going to, run this city or country or town or whatever the case is. But we won't do the same thing for the person that we want to start a family with or live with. Or why don't we want the rundown? And that doesn't mean you want the rundown because you want to exclude from, being with the person or being extra picky. That's not what I mean. But you should know this information because it will make you a better partner. It will make you a better lover. It will make you better, not only for them, but for you. I mean, how amazing would it be if you knew exactly what your partner needed and your partner knew what you needed? And it was because you communicated, you sat down, you wrote down your standards that you want in your relationship. And you wrote down, really what you feel, how you want to be loved, how you want to be seen, how you want to be touched, and all of those things. Like literally, like I think I think it's because, number one, a lot of times we don't know what we want. Because I can definitely tell you, I do now, but how many relationships did I enter, even my marriage, and I really didn't know what I want? I definitely think that with age comes wisdom, right? But if it's in here and you don't write it down, then what happens? You have to write these things down. If we want to have partnership and we want companionship and we want it to be hopefully peaceful. I mean, there are people that want drama, they just like drama, and then, those people can have the drama. But I think the majority of people want to be happy and want to live in peace and want somebody they can grow with and want somebody they can partner with. So, in order to do that, we have to take a step and we need to know our terms and conditions. We definitely need to know our terms and conditions. Oh, womp womp. Oh. Yeah, no, I'm not talking about the election at all, specifically who's running. The only election I'm talking about is the one in your household that you need to be having about your best candidate, about the partner that you have now, and how you two can be each other's best candidate to lead your home. That's what I'm talking about right now. But so I think that it's really, really important. The terms and conditions are something that have to be set in relationships. I think that, of course, the financial part of it is a huge thing, because that's what I talk about. And like I said, what, 40% of marriages end up in divorce, mainly, number one, because of financial issues. So, but I really want to talk about like the drama and why we're so hesitant on really communicating with one another. Like, I feel like in the terms and conditions in the contract, like we should have like a transparency clause, right? Like, I think that there are times that, maybe you schedule transparency time talks. Like, let's just be real transparent about what's going on, and not in a disrespectful way. There could be things that happen, both people, are working, you're creating, you're building, whatever you're doing, you're raising kids, all of those things that are on the outside of you, and sometimes you lose touch with really connecting to each other. So how about a night where we're just real transparent about what's going on in our lives together, so that we can improve it? Like I said, that's not a you're not having this discussion out of disrespect or being disrespectful or blaming the other person, because that should be in there too, like a no blame clause. Like, we should be able to communicate without blaming one another. We should be able to literally say, this is something that I've noticed. I don't know what's going on, but I want to talk about it because I know this is not usually how you are. Is it, those types of discussions? Like, we have to be able to have these discussions if we truly want to be harmonious in our relationships. And it will change not only the communication between you, but it will change the tone in your home. Or even just think about your kids, if you have kids, right? Like, your kids feel the energy, they hear you talking, they see how everyone is treated in terms of in your relationship, in your marriage. Like, don't you think that that would definitely move to them as well? Like, that type of energy, that type of communication, your children are going to communicate with you better and communicate with each other better because you're communicating better. There's more love, there's more respect, there's more a lot of things. There's more syncing together, there's more partnership. It just makes so much sense to me. And the other thing that I was thinking about too is, overall, I think a lot of times we start relationships without even basically talking to our partner about our visions and our goals for our life. I think that, again, the judgment, feeling like the person would judge you about maybe there's things that you want to do with your life, or they feel like their own inadequacies or their own self-worth, maybe they don't even feel like they could do it. But I feel like if you know your partner and you've done the work, and you you come in with being honest and transparent from the beginning, so that person can really know you. Because a lot of times people go through marriages and there's years and years and years and years, and then the other person wants to blame this other person and say, well, I couldn't go after my goals, or I couldn't do this or that because I had to do this for our family, or I had to do this. But the reality is, that person is really to blame, because most of the time they never really even talked about what they really wanted. And they didn't really go through a scenario about how they could support each other and their visions and their dreams for their life. So you tell me, why isn't terms and conditions something that we should set as a standard in our relationship? I know maybe people think it sounds cold or sounds weird, but how could it be? Like, we have a problem right now in our relationships, women and men. Like, we have a problem right now. So if we haven't done that, if we haven't even attempted to do something else, how do we know that's not going to work? And then I'm just going to say it, people don't want to do the work. Like, we don't. I've been in many relationships. It takes a lot to do the work because really the work is about you. Really, if we are improving ourselves, then the work really isn't about the other person because you have to show up for yourself and you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and be transparent with yourself and be loving with yourself and be nurturing and kind to yourself in order to do that with your partner. That's where it gets real interesting, right? Because you know that for whatever many years before you entered this relationship, you may have not been doing the work. So that's okay. Then guess what? You do the work together. So, who's your best candidate for election as a partner? Because you really should be asking that question. We have to ask that question. And it doesn't mean that doing that doesn't include love. It doesn't include attraction, right? Like, I know for me, I have to be attracted to the person. And I'm not just talking about physical attraction. I'm talking about that magnetic like feeling, that pull that makes you feel like, oh, I this like this is it right here. It's more than even anything that you can even describe. It's just an innate feeling. It's passion. It goes beyond physical, that really draws you to another person. So all of that is good. You need all of that. But you also need to be able to communicate with each other, because after that honeymoon phase is over and it starts getting very real, you start really seeing the person's personality and all the layers start getting peeled back. And then you realize, oh, I'm not even sure if I like this person. So if we could start at the beginning and really look at what our standards are, what we really want, and can this person that has come into our life really, really, let's see what the word I'm looking for. Do they meet those standards? Yeah, can they really meet those standards? And the standards, not about you being better than anybody or anything like that. It has nothing to do with it. But I think that it's important for you to know what you want as much as you can, right? Because even through self-discovery, maybe that person has some things that you didn't even know they want that you wanted, and it's great, and you get even more. But you need a basic standard because you need to know that they're able to fulfill a lot of those things that you need from a partner and vice versa. And if they don't, if it's something that they're willing to do and they can do, that's great too, because then that's even better for self discovery for you all to learn from one another. So that's all I wanted to say. Shout out for you for watching. It has been a pleasure today. Just know that the partner for you, if you do not have one, is out there. And if you do have one, do everything you can to make it better. Love yourself more, love them more, give yourself grace more, give them grace more. And remember, you are your greatest value. You are your greatest asset. Life is but a dream. Take care.